Welcome to Gooseberry Science and Education Videos. I'm your host, Professor Pip, and well, we've got an absolutely incredible journey lined up for you today. Alongside my brilliant assistant, say hi to Gooby, our little orange gooseberry expert here, we're going to dive into the fascinating and honestly surprising chronological life cycle of something that's probably sitting right in front of you right now. Yep, we're talking about paper.
So in today's explainer, we're demystifying a material we literally use every single day, from its ancient, kind of accidental origins, all the way to some truly massive modern engineering. Gooby and I are going to break down the science behind it so it all just clicks.
Here is our roadmap for today. We will start with its origins in ancient China, move on to the industrial paper revolution, look at how modern paper is made, touch on the environmental toll, and finally explore the power of recycling. Let's dive in.
Part 1. Origins in Ancient China.
To really understand paper, we've got to look back, way back. Primitive hemp paper actually showed up in China around the 2nd century BCE, and get this, it was likely just a happy accident from washing hemp clothes. But then, in 105 CE, an official named Kai Lun purposefully refined the whole process using mulberry bark and rags. Now that's secret. It stayed locked down in China until the 8th century CE. That's when paper makers were captured after the Battle of Talas, bringing the craft over to the Islamic world, specifically Baghdad. Eventually, by the 19th century, industrialization hit Europe, and well, that changed the game forever.
But how did those ancient paper makers actually pull it off? Well, they used what's called a decal and mold, basically just a wooden frame with a mesh screen. It was an incredibly labor-intensive manual process. Think about it. Plant fibers were soaked and beaten into this watery soup. Then the paper maker would submerge that frame and screen right into the water, pull it up to catch the suspended fibers, and just let the water drain away. Boom, one single sheet of paper at a time. Talk about patience.
Moving on to Part 2, the Industrial Paper Revolution. I want you to think about the sheer technological leap here. On one side, you have that painstakingly slow one-by-one sheet making. And on the other, the revolutionary Fourdrinier machine, which was patented in Britain back in 1806. Instead of a small handheld frame, the Fourdrinier mechanized that mesh screen into a massive, continuously moving belt. Suddenly you could form a never-ending web of wet paper, all at once. Absolute game changer. But there was a catch, right? A huge bottleneck with raw materials. For centuries, paper relied heavily on expensive cotton and linen rags. Then, in 1844, everything flipped. Inventors figured out how to introduce wood pulp into the mix. By replacing those pricey rags with wood, which, is composed mostly of cellulose, they kicked off a brand new era of cheap, abundant paper. This is exactly what paved the way for daily newsprint and mass-market books as we know them.
Which brings us to Part 3, how modern paper is made. Okay, let's look at the core of modern paper making. Step 1 is forming at the wet end, where a highly diluted, super watery pulp slurry is sprayed straight onto that continuous, moving wire mesh. Next up is pressing. Here, the wet fiber web passes between these huge rolls to just squeeze the water right out. Step 3 is drying. The paper weaves around this crazy serpentine series of internally steam-heated cylinders to evaporate whatever moisture is left. And finally, calendaring. This uses super heavy rollers to essentially iron the paper until it's extra smooth and glossy.
Now, here is an absolutely crucial number for you, 40%. After leaving that press section, but before it even hits any of those massive steam-heated drying cylinders, the paper reaches 40% solids, and that is purely through mechanical squeezing. Honestly, it's a wildly efficient way to remove water before you ever have to tap into energy-intensive heat.
All right, Part 4, the environmental toll.
We have to talk about the sheer volume of paper in our daily lives, because it is staggering. Discarded paper and paperboard, they make up roughly 26% of all solid municipal waste generated. That is a massive chunk of our landfills taken up entirely by just one single category of material.
In the production process itself, it leaves a pretty heavy footprint. Paper mills generate specific pollutants like nitrogen and sulfur oxides, which actually drive acid rain, by the way, along with fine particulate matter and heavy metals like lead and manganese. Plus, here's a stat that might shock you. The pulp and paper industry uses more water to produce a single ton of product than literally any other industry on Earth.
To put that industrial footprint into a broader perspective, the pulp and paper sector is responsible for around 5% of all total industrial pollutant releases to air, water, and land across both the United States and Canada.
5%. It is a highly significant slice of the industrial pie. And really, that's exactly why modern regulations and sustainable practices are becoming so absolutely vital.
Which leads perfectly into part 5, the power of recycling. Fortunately, we have a powerful way to mitigate this impact, and it's all about closing the loop. Gooby's got the breakdown for us. It happens in 4 main steps. First is collection and sorting, where automated scanners separate the different grades of paper. Second is pulping, where the paper is mechanically shredded and chemically mixed with water right back into a slurry. Third is de-inking, to strip away old text and images. And fourth is paper making, where that nice clean pulp is sent right back onto the Fourdrinier machine.
Now, step 3 is absolutely fascinating. Inside what's called a de-inking cell, air is injected right into the watery pulp slurry. This suction force creates all these tiny bubbles. And as these bubbles rise to the surface, they actually catch and lift the ink and unwanted particles right off the recycled fibers. It's this brilliant flotation process that literally washes the pulp, making it bright and clean enough to be used all over again.
The environmental savings of closing this loop are massive. Recycled paper manufacturing conserves forests and habitats by drastically reducing our demand for virgin wood. It requires far less energy, which of course lowers greenhouse gas emissions. It actively diverts that 26% of waste away from our landfills, and, crucially, it consumes significantly less water than traditional papermaking. So it really brings our entire chronological journey full circle.
So we've gone from ancient hemp rags pulled through a wooden mold, to massive industrial machines, to modern recycling cells blowing tiny ink-lifting bubbles. The history and the science are incredible, for sure, but they leave us with a pretty provocative thought. Can we balance our demand for paper with the actual health of our planet? It's a real challenge for engineers, consumers, and conservationists alike. Well, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. We are already working on a new topic.